Hello everyone, this is H2Acon here from Online Nights, and I'm here today with another episode of Character Case Files. Today we're going to be looking at another suggestion, and another of the franchise's newer characters. He's big, he's bad, and we probably haven't seen the last of him. Let's take a look at the backstory of the cult leader, Jul Mdama. Jul Mdama was born in the rural state of Mdama on Sanghelios, the homeworld of the Sangheli. He grew up in Bekan Keep, one of the state's many minor townships, and had a typical upbringing. Sangheli culture is meritocratic, where individuals are rewarded for their individual hard-earned success. To ensure that all Sangheli are given a fair start, children are not told who their parents are, and are all raised together by select members of the clan. This is to ensure that they all start on equal footing, regardless of the successes of their parents. So therefore, Jul grew up without knowing his parents, raised in a commune with all the other children of the clan. Similarly to human martial societies such as the Spartans of ancient Greece or the samurai of Japan, young Sangheli are trained in the arts of war from an early age. Both males and females are taught basic combat skills, however only males, such as Jul, stay on for advanced weapon training with swordmasters and other warriors. Jul apparently excelled in war, as evidenced by the fact that he not only survived the Human Covenant War, but by the end of the conflict he had risen to the rank of shipmaster of a cruiser. However, like the bulk of Sangheli, Jul found himself at a loose end following the Battle of Installation 00 in 2552. With the conflict between Sangheli and humanity seemingly over, and no prophets to lead them, this proud warrior race that had gotten so used to following orders of others was now unsure exactly what to do with itself. And Jul wasn't the only one struggling to plan his next step. Sangheli all over Sanghelios were attempting to find some kind of purpose, and more than anything to rebuild some kind of organization amongst themselves. Mdama, the Kaidon or leader of the state of Mdama, called together a meeting of all the elders from all the keeps in the state to discuss just this. The meeting was also attended by a very special guest speaker, Vadam. The Arbiter had quickly become one of the leading figures in the newly forming Sangheli system. With the powerful state of Vadam at his back and equally strong allies, Thel was able to command a great deal of authority and was fast becoming the planet's unofficial head of state. However, not everyone supported him. Many were openly hostile to his controversial proposal to agree to a ceasefire with humanity whilst the Sangheli consolidated and rebuilt. Jul was one of those who criticized the Arbiter for his friendliness with the humans, and at this meeting he spoke out against Thel. After an exchange across the floor, Vadam finally agreed to disagree, and invited Jul to try to stop him by force. The meeting then ended abruptly, and Jul went back to his keep to plan his next move. Jul initially appealed to Mdama for assistance, but to his dismay, the Kaidon informed Jul that he agreed with Thel and would not take any action against him. While searching for other possible supporters, Jul discovered the Servants of the Abiding Truth. The Servants were a group of warrior monks who still clung to the belief that the Forerunners were gods, and they opposed the Arbiter for his part in denouncing them as such. After seeing them destroy a nearby keep after a perceived act of heresy, Jul realized that this was a connection he could make use of. He didn't share their deep religious beliefs, however he was willing to make common cause with them to bring down Vadam and his plans for peace. To that end, Jul journeyed to the city of Ontom, where the cult was holding an underground rally. There he met Avu Medtelkam, the leader of the monks, who welcomed Jul, eager to gain the services of such an experienced soldier. Thanks to his experience, Mdama soon found himself as a leading figure in the army that Telkam was amassing. His position as the bishop's lieutenant was secured after he led a group of fanatics in the successful theft of a frigate from a nearby shipyard. However, despite Telkam's growing trust in and reliance upon him, he still refused to tell Jul where he was sourcing his growing collection of weaponry. Being very suspicious, one day Jul decided to discreetly follow the bishop to one of his meetings with the dealers. He followed him off Sanghelios to the planet New Lanelli, a human colony world that had been glassed in the early years of the Human Covenant War. Watching the dealings from a vantage point, Jul was horrified to discover that Telkam was getting his weapons from humans. See, whilst in public Admiral Hood was discussing the terms of a ceasefire with the Arbiter, the Office of Naval Intelligence was worried about the Sangheli's capability, regardless of their intent. To prevent the Sangheli from once again posing a threat to humanity, Oni hit on a plan to keep them weak. Oni assigned its top Spec Ops team, Kilo 5, to secretly foment a civil war on Sanghelios, and thereby prevent Vadam from unifying his species. Kilo 5 identified Telkam as a means to destabilize the Arbiter's hold and began supplying him with arms. The aim was to create a stalemate, keeping them busy fighting one another, and not humanity. Of course, this all had to be done in secret, so when Kilo 5 spotted Jul watching over the deal, they couldn't afford to let him leave. Mdama was tackled, dragged aboard their corvette, and locked away in the brig. He was then shipped off to the only research facility on the Forerunner shield world designated Trevelyan, formerly the planet Onyx. As one of the only Sangheili ever captured alive, Jul was of immense value for study, and so lead researcher Irina Magnuson sought to get as much out of their prisoner as possible. As well as interrogations, Mdama was subjected to several experiments, testing out various new bio-warfare advancements to identify their potential effectiveness if used against the Sangheili. After a while in captivity, Jul was finally allowed greater liberty, and was given permission by Dr. Magnuson to explore some of the Forerunner structures in the shield world. However, he was fitted with an explosive harness to prevent escape, and had a Huragok, prone to drift, as his chaperone. In his exploration of the Forerunner remains, Jul became increasingly sure of the truth of their mortality. Regardless, he still had a deep respect for their technological supremacy, and sought to gain as much knowledge as he could from his surroundings. He uncovered much that intrigued him, including tell of a live Forerunner known as the Didact on another shield world called Requiem. Jul learnt that the Didact had previously led his species in a war against humanity, and the idea of Forerunners also warring with humans considerably bolstered his spirits. Jul later began to hatch a plan to escape. One day he wandered into Trevelyan's portal nexus, and turned on the Huragok. He threatened to remove and thus detonate his explosive harness if it didn't assist him in activating a portal so that he could escape. Afraid of the potential damage to the Forerunner machinery, Prone to Drift reluctantly complied, and so Jul soon found himself back amongst Sangheili. Jul emerged from the portal on a Sangheili colony world called Hesturos. With the local Kaidon's help, he was able to contact his keep back on Sanghelios, and it was then that Mdama learnt of the fighting that had happened on Sanghelios in his absence. Telcam and the dissident forces had finally launched an all-out attack on the Arbiter and State of Vadam. However, thanks to the timely arrival of Vadam's UNSC allies, the Servants of Abiding Truth had been pushed back. Telcam ordered all his forces to flee the system and regroup at New Lanelli. However, 2 frigates had been shot down whilst retreating. Worried at how long he'd been missing, Jul's wife Raya had been searching for him and had gone to see Telcam in Onton in the hopes of finding her husband there. She had gotten caught up in the fighting once it started, and eventually been one of those aboard the frigates that were shot down. Mdama was crushed to hear of his wife's death, which combined with his time spent in imprisonment, served to only make him more hateful of humanity. He saw how civil war was weakening the Sangheili, and became convinced that they should all focus their efforts on humans as a common enemy. He no longer trusted Telcam after witnessing his willingness to deal with humans, and so set about establishing his own faction. Despite his secret atheist beliefs, he was able to use the knowledge of the Forerunners he'd gleaned from Trevelyan to rally the devout Sangheili of Hesturos to his cause. The following year, in 2554, Mdama and his men found Requiem. The shield world was closed to them, so they had no choice but to remain in orbit and await an opening. Over the next few years, more and more fanatics joined his sect, meaning that by 2557, Jul was in command of the largest single group of Covenant Remnant forces. This is how we found Mdama and his Covenant in Halo 4 and Halo 4's Spartan Ops. Although emerging as the loser from both battles of Requiem, Jul made 2 major gains in the second. Not only did he leave with half of the Janus Key, a map of all Forerunner remains, but with a new ally, Dr. Catherine Halsey. As of 2558, Mdama is a greater threat to humanity than ever, a fierce nationalist bent on wiping out humanity through use of Forerunner technology to secure his species' position as a dominant race in the galaxy. He is a wily opponent for the UNSC, managing to lead a religious cult despite being an atheist, and now he has one of humanity's brightest minds as an ally. Halo wouldn't be the same without the Covenant, and as their de facto leader, you can be sure that we'll be seeing Mdama put in an appearance again sometime. Well, that's all for this episode. Please like the video and subscribe for more, and if there are any other characters you'd like me to cover, then go ahead and suggest them in a comment down below. I've been H2Acon, and I'll see you next time on Character Case Files.